Black man said.
Good morning. I want to call to order the meeting of the October 27th Rutherford County Regional Planning Commission to order. If y'all would stand with us, please. Commissioner Veronica Buchanan will lead us in our prayer and our pledge. Veronica.
Gracious Father, we're thanking you for this awesome day that you have bestowed upon us, dear God. We're thanking you that we're able to be here to conduct our county's business. Please crown our head with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding so that we can do the will of you, God, and our county, dear God. Continue to bless our great country, our great state, dear God, and bless everybody that's here today and our whole entire Rutherford County. This is my prayer in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Call the roll, please, Gail.
Rhonda Allen.
Here.
Jim Aberwater.
Here.
Veronica Buchanan.
Here.
Will Jordan.
Here.
Mike Cush.
Present.
Craig Lynch.
Here.
Chip Pinion.
Here.
Charlotte P.
Here.
Steve Sandlin. Mike Vaught. Jeff Phillips.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Gail. Need to approve the minutes of our October 13th meeting. For this, I'll call on our Vice Chair, Craig Lynch.
Mr. Chairman, I do so make a motion we approve those October 27, October 13 minutes.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? That motion carries. Items withdrawn or deferred. Doug?
Yes, sir. Under Section 7, submitted for preliminary plan approval. Item B, Estates of Lewis Downs, that has been pulled off the agenda and we'll consider it at a future meeting.
Thank you. Item 7B has been withdrawn. Item 6, plat extension request. Item 6A, 12 Corners, Section 3, request for a 12-month extension. Doug, is this you or Mike?
I'll take care of these,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thanks.
You're off the hook, Mike.
Since these are just plat approvals, I think I can handle these. Both this one, I'll go ahead and do Davenport Station. These have been developments that have been approved for a number of years. Under today's regulations, we would only allow for one extension. However, these were both approved under previous regulations, so there was no limit to the number of extensions they could ask for. So we were thinking last year that Davenport Station, that would have been the last one that we would have had to have done. Unfortunately, the development plans never came to fruition with that, so they're still looking to do an extension on that. Really, nothing's really changed with either one of these. For 12 Corners, they have started making a little headway for Section 2. I believe they just had a pre-construction conference not too long ago with staff, so they're getting ready to move forward with that. So Section 3 may not be that far behind. We'll have to wait and see. But in regards to both of these, A and B, they're pretty much standard requests, just asking for one-year extensions.
We'll go ahead and take B at the same time, which is Davenport Station, Section 1, Phases 1 and 2, request for a 12-month plat extension. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve both extensions. Second.
Motion to approve and a second. All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? That motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, submitted for preliminary plan approval. Item 7A, Lewis Downs, Section 2. The item number is 14-1008. This is for a reapproval. 19 lots on 8.8 acres, zoned residential medium density, located to the north of Rock Springs, Midland Road. Stewart Springs LLC is the applicant. Doug?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Commissioners will recall this plat was approved at the September 22nd meeting just last month, subject to residential sprinkler systems due to the fire hydrant waiver request. As it turns out, and this wasn't called out real well on the original plan, but if you look on your screen, there is an existing fire hydrant already located right here at the intersection of Sam Lewis Drive and Rhonda Drive. Again, this wasn't called out in the original plan. It was kind of behind some lines here. It was kind of difficult to see. But in a subsequent meeting with CUD on some other business, this was brought to our attention that, yes, there is indeed a fire hydrant there, and all of the lots in this section will be within 1,000 feet of that hydrant. So in that regard, the approval that was originally done was done with the fire hydrant waiver and then also with the sprinkler systems. But since that fire hydrant is present, there really is no reason to have the residential sprinkler systems in the homes. Now, if they still want to put them in there, that's certainly their prerogative. They can do that, but the requirement really doesn't need to be there. So what staff suggested that they do is just to bring this back through the commission for a reapproval, since that this actually does meet the county's requirements as far as fire hydrant locations and distance to the hydrant is concerned. Everything else about this plat remains the same. There's no changes besides this. So be happy to answer any questions.
What were CUD's comments on the fire hydrant?
As far as
I mean, it was just missing on the original plans.
well, actually, when you look at the original drawing, it just wasn't called out.
Okay.
And it was, like I said, it's right here on this line right through here. So it just, nobody saw it.
Okay.
Is what happened.
But it's hot, got water to it.
Yes, sir.
Got plenty of
Yeah,
pressure.
they said it would meet the county's requirements.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve the request and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. Item B has been removed, of course. Item 8, submitted for final plat approval. Item 8A, Henley Propane, minor final plat. The item number is 14-2043, one lot on 2 acres, zoned light industrial, located along Franklin Road, State Route 96. Brent Henley is the applicant. Includes waiver request for no soil site and fire hydrant requirements. Doug?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Well, this property is located along the north side of Franklin Road. The applicant desires to subdivide these 2 acres here off from the parent tract. There's an existing propane business there. The tank is right here, and there's a few outbuildings that are already existing on the property. There is not a soil site on this property as stated here on the plat. Really, the big reason they're doing this is just for, this is going to be sold off to somebody else, while the remaining property is going to remain under the original ownership. As you stated in the staff comments, there's not a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet of this, and I don't think there's really the ability to put one there. Since all this is existing, we talked with the fire chief about this. I don't think he was so much concerned about the existing buildings, but he wanted to make sure that any future development of this property would have to meet the adopted fire code, which of course we assured him that at that point it would. Something that I am seeing on here, there are some existing buildings here with this property line being proposed in this area. This will have to meet minimum setbacks, so if this doesn't meet the minimum setbacks, they may have an issue here, but that's something that I think we can kind of work through. If nothing else, they would have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals before this is recorded. But besides that, if it could just be a matter of simply shifting a lot line just a little bit. But beyond that, I didn't have any other comments on this, Mr. Chairman. Mike, do you have anything? No comments.
How do they access a road?
It's right down here. This is their entrance, right here.
Do they have an easement across the property that they're subdividing off?
Well, they've got.
It's lot 1. I'm trying to figure out.
Oh,
how they
you're
get to
talking
lot
over
1.
here. Yeah, there's an existing drive over here. Is that what you're talking about?
No, lot 1.
Right.
Oh, no, okay, I'm sorry. I see it now.
Okay, yeah, this is the entrance right here, and they do.
I saw the existing paving running across the back, and so I was thinking that was.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, this is, there is a, we asked them to put the continuing access, joint access easement right here. Since this is all one property right now, they kind of access the back right in this area, right through here. Mhm.
Any other questions, comments?
I have one more question. What can the lot be used for if there's the one that's being subdivided where there's no soil site? Let's say that lot is sold off. What can it be used for?
Well, I mean, the zoning will allow for a number of uses. It's zone light industrial, so it's fairly wide open as to what it could be used for. Now, if they cannot provide, bathroom facilities and subsurface drainage, then it might be limited to something on the lines that they're doing right now.
Okay.
So, again, I don't think they're really wanting to change up the operation of what they're doing here. I mean, I think for all intents and purposes, it'll still look like it's being operated as one property. But over time, that's something that may have to be rectified, if they ever want to do any more larger type scale development on the property.
Doug, I want to make sure I understand correctly. So this is a large tract of land of which the convenience storage and the the propane are all on one tract.
That's correct.
And they just want to split off the mini storage and this area to the rear where the one is.
Correct. Yeah.
And so all the rest of it, the mini storage now is part of all the remaining.
The remaining acreage, that's correct. Yes, sir.
They're gonna put a big propane tank back there?
I think there's a
Tank
representative
already
here.
out front.
You wanna
See
come
that
up and-
existing tank? Is that-
What was your question, sir?
Are you gonna move your big tank, put it in the back? Is that the idea?
No, the premise of it is the tank will stay where it's at now. The company that purchased our company just wants to keep the 2 acres so that they don't have to move the propane bulk tank, storage tank in the future. That's the only reason they're wanting to buy the property. They have no intentions on building or developing it at all. It's just kind of an as-is.
Could you state your name, please?
I'm sorry, I'm Chris Tynes, and I'm partner, it's under Henley Propane, but I'm partners with Brett Henley on it.
Thank you, Chris.
Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve
Second motion.
and a second.
Would that be subject to the waiver requests
Yeah.
as well?
Your
Thank you.
comments. All your comments.
Thank you.
Subject to waiver and comments. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8B, Kyle Warren, one lot subdivision. The item number is 14-2068. One lot on 15.02 acres, zoned RM, located off Drake Lane. Susan Lee and Michael A. Warren are the applicants. Include waivers from the distance requirements for fire hydrants for subdivision lots, number of lots off a private easement, and easement width requirements. Doug?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As you stated, this property is located on the east side of Drake Lane, which runs off of Compton Road. The Planning Commission approved waivers listed that you read just a moment ago at their March 10th, 2014 meeting prior to having the work done on the plat. Staff, of course, is not permitted to administratively approve a plat that has a waiver on it, which is why it's coming before you today. The existing 25-foot easement will continue to serve this property. Staff reviewed the plat. There really wasn't just a whole lot of comments we had on it. The waivers had already been addressed, so really this is just the final product of what was started back in March. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at this time.
I'm very familiar with the property. I remember when it came through before, and this young man trying to build a house out there beside his mother's house. His father passed away. Bad situation, but good people. With that, I'll make a motion to approve, subject to all staff comments.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 8C, Waldron Farms, Section 5, Phase 2B. The item number is 14-2069, 15 lots on 4.861 acres. So zoned RM with a previously approved conditional use permit for a planned residential development located off Stones River Road, Waldron Farms LLC, the applicant. Doug?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As you stated, this property is located to the north of Stones River Road. This development was originally approved as a planned residential development under the former zoning resolution. Although the property is currently zoned RM, the pre-existing PRD is still in effect. This plat appears to be consistent with that approval. We've looked over the plat. We've made our comments. The comments that we had have all appeared to have been addressed at this point. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Doug, would you explain for me and perhaps some new folks? It says, although the property is zoned RM now, the pre-existing PRD is still in effect.
Yes, sir.
Why would that still be in effect?
When we, of course, under our old, let me back up just a little bit, under our old zoning resolution, you'll recall that the a lot of the zoning was done, it was done by conditional use permit. In other words, there really weren't a whole lot of uses by right. In residential areas, of course, single-family homes were permitted by right. Anything beyond that had to be done by conditional use permit. Planned residential development at that time was not a separate zoning district in and of itself. It had to be approved as a conditional use permit. So that, along with all the commercial properties that we had, the uses that were specifically prescribed for each property were always done by conditional use permit. When we went to the new zoning ordinance that we're currently under, of course, we abandoned that and kind of went more with a conventional, these are uses permitted by right, uses permitted by appeal, special exception, those kind of things. There were still quite a few planned developments, CUPs that are out there that the properties are currently operating under those conditional use permits, but the new ordinance doesn't necessarily recognize those as a separate zoning district anymore. So what we ended up doing under the new code was any pre-existing conditional use permit that was approved would still continue to be enforced under its regulations that were adopted at the time it was approved. So moving forward, while the property is zoned residential, it still has a previously approved CUP that it's active and operating under. If this were to come in today, we would just say this is a rezoning to a planned unit development. So that's really the big difference, and I hope I didn't just confuse everybody. Charlotte, I'm sorry if I did. I saw that look. You were like, oh, what is he saying? So, but that's essentially why we do what we're doing, Mr. Cush.
Thank you, Doug.
On your, on the agenda, there's some notes, says staff does have some questions regarding stormwater detention. So have we addressed that?
Right. The previously approved plan will have detention farther to the west, but that will be built at a later date. Right now, they're not required to build detention under the old ordinance.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve subject to all staff comments.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9, submitted for site plan approval. Item 9A, AT project. The item number is 14-3025. New construction of approximately 40,000 square feet on 127.15 acres, zoned institutional with a special exemption for healthcare facility located at 5110 Florence Road. Journey Pure LLC are the applicants. Doug?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This subject property is located on the east side of Florence Road, right to the north of the existing cemetery that's there, which is actually in the city limits of Murfreesboro. Planning commissioners will recall this property was rezoned institutional back in March of this year. The Board of Zoning Appeals came back after that and did a special exception for the use of an addiction treatment center in April of this year with a limitation of 96 beds. The site plan does show several buildings. I'll try to zoom in here just a little bit, and this is a, oops, that's not what I wanted to do, but it'll work. Show a number of buildings. They show a guard shack. This is an existing barn here on a property, a small building to the bill here at some point. Administrative offices, medical building, and then the residences will actually be here in the back with an activity center down in this area. These are the female residents, and these are the male residents up in this area. We had a number of comments on this plan. From a planning standpoint, most of those comments have been addressed. There are a few things. You'll see here that one of the limitations the Board of Zoning Appeals put on it was that the total beds be limited to 96. Originally, I believe these are supposed to be 12 beds per residence. They were showing all of these buildings as being constructed under basically the first phase. That would have put them over what they were permitted to have from the Board of Zoning Appeals. So we've asked them to go ahead and kind of ghost out a couple of these. They're ghosted out on the master plan. On the individual sheets, which we can get to if you want to see those, they're not necessarily ghosted out, or they're ghosted out, but they're not labeled as future. I'd like them to go ahead and do that just for clarity's sake. They're showing what they're proposing to be an amphitheater in this area. It's really more just a stage they're going to set up with people bringing portable chairs. That, in my mind, that's not really an amphitheater. I think they need to clarify that some. The zoning line that they're showing in this part of the plan, This is almost accurate, but when they zoned the property, they actually included this area right in here for the entrance drive as well, so that needs to be revised. The fire chief asked for some information on this particular use, just to clarify and make sure they were using the right occupancy. Mr. Farley is here if he wants to address that any further. And there was also some question as to whether or not they're showing a fire hydrant in this area, if that was going to be close enough for the activity center here. I think Mr. Farley suggested another hydrant possibly down in this area as well. And right in here, it's a little difficult to see here, but they show a little retaining wall here that's not labeled as such. If they just label that on the plan, that way everybody knows what it is, then I think that will take care of that. I know there's some engineering comments as well, so I'll turn it over to Mike for that.
All in all, it's a pretty good design. We've been working with the design team on this. The site drains either to the west fork of the Stones River, which is the eastern part of the property, or towards an unnamed tributary in the middle of the site. They're providing water quantity requirements, and they've just now added some more water quality features to meet our new stormwater ordinance. So we're going to need some more information on that, some more design calculations. We need a few more spot shots and a few locations, and how they're going to address water quality features in some areas around the male residence hall and the activity center. But all in all, it's a good project, and we feel we can work with this. Subject to staff comments.
Who's representing them today? Mr. Taylor?
But he is, yes, sir.
I just, out in my commission area, I
Mhm.
mean, I live right across the river from it, and I've had a lot of people ask me what the time frame was. The thistles over there growing up over here, but they have cut all that now, makes it look a little better, but
Right,
it's
and
just something they're gonna start on.
their intention is to start within about a month. We've got to apply for our state stormwater permit, which takes about 30 days, and then use that time to work with Mike and staff to clean up our drainage calcs and get those in a fashion they like.
It's not like it's gonna be.
No, and I think they purchased the property roughly a month ago, I believe. So now they've got ownership, they can get in there and do a little bit more and start some of their soils
They're
testing.
gonna accept for these couple of buildings that have been drawn out, just build everything in one shot.
Yes, sir. That's the plan right now. And we're working through some budget issues, but we're trying to correct that with the building costs themselves. There's not much we can do on the infrastructure side, honestly.
Doug, the zoning line that you talked about right before the guardhouse, what needs to be cleaned up on that?
The zoning line, as they proposed it, it didn't just come straight down. It kind of came straight down and then just kind of went like this, back down and over. So it's I mean, it's really, it should be easy to fix. It's not nothing that's really going to materially affect the site.
And then BZA's request to reduce the number of beds, is that based on some of the fire issues that Farley's going to address?
No, I don't think it necessarily had anything to do with that. I think that the applicant, when they first brought this forward, of course, they went through the rezoning process knowing, and they had a neighborhood meeting out at the cemetery right to the south, and said that they were looking at a maximum of, I forget, like 80 to 90 beds or something like that, maybe not even that many. But when they got to the board, they wanted to know if they could build up to the 96 is really what they were looking for. So I think that was really more of an attempt to allow them to get established. But if there was a time when they wanted to go to future expansion, that would give them the ability to kind of develop a track record, if you will.
Okay.
So if they had to come back for expansion, then if there were issues that needed to be addressed, we could address them at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, that goes back to what the neighbors were told, and they just want to make sure they didn't get, all of a sudden you got the whole 100 and how many acres covered up and 400 beds over there or something like that. You know.
And I think the way these treatment facilities work is a low number. They want a very low student to pupil ratio, if you will, for that term. It makes it much more effective like that.
If there's no more questions, I'll make a motion to approve subject to staff comments.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. Staff reports, other business, Doug?
Can't think of anything just off the top of my head except for just one thing. You'll recall that in our discussions on the traffic sheds, commissioners had expressed an interest to have Steve Tocknell, who developed Williamson County's system, as well as Mike Madison, the Williamson County Planning Director, to come and do a presentation to the evening meeting. We were originally kind of trying to schedule that for the November meeting. Unfortunately, Mr. Madison's got a previous engagement that night with his county commission, so they won't be able to make that date. So if it's okay with the commission, we're probably going to try to shoot for December as opposed to the November meeting. But both were willing to make a presentation similar to what was made to the training session that the Planning Commission had a few months back on that. So just wanted to let you know where we were on that.
We talked about no hurry.
Right, yes, sir.
We'll move really slow on this. Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, November the 10th, 6 p.m., and that will be in the historic courthouse. And also a quick reminder, our November 24th meeting, that's Thanksgiving week, and that has been canceled. We'll not be meeting Thanksgiving week. Another reminder, early voting ends Wednesday, I believe, and Election Day is next Tuesday. Anything else?
Just don't forget, immediately following this, we'll have our training session. Mr. McCrary is going to do a training session for the Planning Commission on private property rights.
Forgot about that. Thank you, Doug. Anything else? This meeting is adjourned.